Hello, let's talk about setting and how it influences characters and plot development. I am teaching you from the past. It is Saturday right now, and it is the morning, and I am enjoying some coffee out of my favorite chicken mug. Mm. It's even chilly outside, so the coffee's super delicious. So, we're talking about setting this morning. Setting is the time and place of a story, okay? So there's multiple ways to analyze setting. You have to consider the time, the year, the day, the season, the hour, the historical period, the when. And then you got to ask yourself, where is it physically? What's the place? What's the geography, the place, the room? Is it inside, outside? Um, what's the weather and the seasons like there? So all of those things tell you the setting. Now, you can kind of think about setting like a little math equation. Okay, where the story happens is the place, and when the story happens is the time. Questions to ask yourself about setting, okay? So, these same questions will work whether we're talking about looking at sitting by a campfire or we're escaping a wildfire, okay? So, I'm going to hide the verses. Okay, I'm back. So, how does the setting influence the plot of the story? The plot of the story is going to look very different if we're sitting by a campfire. And this plot of the story is going to look very different if we're escaping a wildfire that's taking over hundreds of acres of land and destroying houses and homes and wildlife in the forest. And then when we think about if we're changing in setting from a campfire to wildfire, those are two very different things. And what's the character's attitude about spending time there? Miss Pineda loves campfires. I love sitting by a campfire, but not everyone does. Like my mom hates it. So my attitude about spending time by campfire would be amazing, where my mom would be like, oh, can I go inside now? And escaping a wildfire, someone that has a sense of adventure and wants to help others in that process might look as it as an opportunity to be heroic and help others. Or someone like me, who's not always a thrill seeker, is going to be like, I want out now. This is not a good situation. The setting is important to the plot because oftentimes where the story is set is what drives the events forward and motivates the characters. So think about that difference in a character sitting by a cozy campfire with a nice cup of coffee or trying to escape and flee a wildfire. And oftentimes the setting causes the conflict. If you're sitting by a campfire, it may be that you burn your s'mores, and that's the conflict in the story. But if you're escaping a wildfire, that's definitely going to be the conflict. So next slide is coming at you. So now let's think about the setting of Thank You, Ma'am. To find the setting of a text, you have to go back and read the text closely. You just have to go back, pull it out of your backpack, pull it out of your notebook, or open up a new tab and read it. Look for clues, make inferences, and you have to visualize. Means you have to make a movie in your head. Close your eyes. What do you see? What are the characters' actions telling you about the setting? Are they pulling their jacket closely so it's cold? Little details like that help you understand things. Are they checking their watch on their way to work so that they're running late and it's busy? So think through those things. Now, when we're closely reading, closely means you're closely analyzing the text, you're marking it up, you're looking at the pieces. You want to see how this reader found the clues in this setting. So when they went back, you can see this reader did some close annotations. They didn't do a lot of meaningless work here. They went back and thought about the setting. That's 11 o'clock at night. She's walking home alone. Do you see how they underline that? It must be on a sidewalk. No one stops to help. And so she has to kick him in the booty and she has to take her purse back and she grabs him by the collar and she shakes him. And then she makes him pick up her pocketbook. If other people had been around and it had been the middle of the day, think about how differently that conflict would have unfolded. But she's alone. It's 11 o'clock at night. And she takes action into her own hands in the moment of the conflict. So when we ask ourselves this question, how does the setting contribute to the conflict of the story? In this case, we know she's walking alone at night, that on a sidewalk. That produces the conflict of she's the one that Roger tries to rob. So here's how you would respond to that question using the text evidence you found. You see the text evidence on your screen. He's also on the sidewalk. It's late at night. They're alone. So if Mrs. Jones hadn't been walking alone at night, Roger wouldn't have stolen her purse. If other people had been around, he might have been arrested. So when I take that question with the clues in the text, I put it together and I have my answer. Now, another question, how does the setting influence the plot of the story? So how does it determine later events? So when I look here, the fact that no one stops to help and she has to grab him and the boy's waiting away the purse. He runs, he tries to snatch it, and he tumbles backwards. And in that moment, he doesn't run away from her when he falls. And she turns around and she kicks him in his blue jean sitter. She kicks him right in the booty. And she picks him up and shakes him until his teeth rattle. Now, that's hard, my friends. No one else stops to help. No one says, stop shaking the boy. No one says, why did you steal her purse? So she's alone. If other people had been around when Roger tried to rob Mrs. Jones, he might have been arrested. Mrs. Jones wouldn't have had to stand up for herself and really see who Roger is in a person. So as she's picking him up and she's shaking him, she's also realizing this is a kid. A kid just tried to steal from me. Not an adult, not a grown man, not an old man, not a lady, a kid. And I think that's why, my personal opinion, she didn't turn him into the police. So here's some other questions to consider when you're thinking about the setting. I'll let you read those to yourself and then you can go on with the video. And we're back. All right, next question. Now think about this question with Thank You Ma'am. What is Roger's attitude about spending time in Mrs. Jones's home? So remember, she takes him to her home. What's his attitude about being there? Now you're going to pick the best choice to this question here in a minute when you see this. And then our final question for today, remember you're going to answer these two questions once you stop the video, is what is Roger's attitude about spending time in Mrs. Jones's home? I hope you picked D. Roger feels unsure and cautious about being treated like family. He doesn't know what to think of that situation because, as we discussed in class, he probably doesn't have a safe family network if he's out home late at night. He doesn't have people worrying about him and holding him accountable for his actions. All right, so now how does the change in setting from the sidewalk to Mrs. Jones's home advance the plot? So how does going from being on the sidewalk to Mrs. Jones' home advance the plot? You're going to tell me in several complete sentences. I expect at least probably 3 to 4. Use text evidence, so pull out your thank you ma'am and give me a quality response. Answer and restate, cite evidence from the text, and extend your thinking. I can't wait to read your responses. Thank you for hanging out with me, for learning about how the setting influences the plot. Have a great day.